Okay, in the first session we said that amateurs have satellites, which we do. So in this section we're going to talk about amateur satellite operations, Doppler shift, basic orbits, and operating protocols. Who may be the control operator of a station communicating through an amateur satellite or space station? Okay, any amateur whose license privileges allow them to transmit on the satellite uplink frequency. Now, on a satellite, you have an uplink frequency where you are transmitting to the satellite. You have a downlink frequency that the satellite is transmitting on. Okay, as a technician, if you are transmitting to a satellite that receives on 2 meters and transmits on 10 meters, it may be sending back a signal that is outside of your frequency privileges on 10 meters. Okay? However, your license privileges allow you to transmit on the uplink frequency, so you're legal to use that satellite, even though it returns the signal to Earth on a frequency that you're not authorized to use if you were transmitting it from the Earth. Okay? So the rule is, if you're communicating through a satellite and you have privileges to use the uplink frequency, then you're legal to use the satellite. How much transmitter power should be used on the uplink frequency of an amateur satellite or space station? The correct answer is the minimum amount of power needed to complete the contact. That, you'll remember, is the general rule for power for the amateur bands. And that's the rule that I told you is the most often violated one. In satellite communication, it's much more important to use the minimum amount of power, because the circuitry in the satellite is different than what you have in an ordinary repeater. What satellites typically use is a transponder that converts a range of frequencies, and if you're hitting it with a whole lot of power, you're using satellite battery power, satellite transmitter power that other users could be using if you were using the minimum power that you needed. So it's important as a courtesy thing, and also to maintain the satellite batteries and so on, that you use the minimum power that you can to complete the contact. Which of the following can be done using an amateur radio satellite? You can talk to amateurs in other countries, amateur radio operators in other countries using the satellite. Now, these were the distractors for that. Get GPS information. No, amateur satellites don't have any GPS information. Make telephone calls. No, amateur satellites do not connect with the public telephone system. All correct? No. We know if either of these two are wrong, then this one can't possibly be right. So this is an example of where all of these answers are correct is not the correct answer. But this is what you can do with the amateur satellite. Which amateur stations may make contact with an amateur station on the International Space Station using amateur radio frequencies? Any amateur holding a technician or higher class license may make contact with an amateur station on the International Space Station. Most of the astronauts and cosmonauts are amateurs, and when they have time they will get on, and sometimes by schedule. They typically schedule classroom things for school kids, but they may be on at other times also. So if you have a computer program that will show when the International Space Station is going to be within your part of the sky, you may be able to make contact with an astronaut on the International Space Station. What is a satellite beacon? It's a transmission from the space station that contains information about the satellite. And if you're looking at information on a satellite, the beacon transmits continuously. And it transmits information for the satellite operator, like how much power is in the battery and how much voltage is being generated by the solar cells and so on. But you can also use that beacon to tell when the satellite is within your window of coverage, within your sky. And so that's what the beacon is. It's a transmission from a space station that contains information about a satellite. But it allows you a way to tell if the satellite is where you can access it. What can be used to determine the time period during which an amateur satellite or space station can be accessed? A satellite tracking program. And you can get these online. If you go to AMSAT, you can, it's probably amsat.org. And if you just put AMSAT in Google, I'm sure you'll get there. And you can get satellite tracking programs that will let you know when it's in the neighborhood. What is Doppler shift? Doppler shift is a change in frequency caused by motion of the transmitting station. Now, we're most commonly aware of this in terms of audio Doppler shift, or shift in sound. And if you're out by the highway and there's a truck going by, as the truck comes toward you, you're hearing mainly the sound of its tires probably, or the engine, and the frequency is higher in pitch. As it comes towards you, it's going as it goes past you. Okay, that's the Doppler shift. As it's moving, it's packing those sound waves ahead of it. And since they're closer together, they have a higher pitch, don't they, or a higher frequency. Remember, the shorter wavelength is a higher frequency. As it goes by, it's stretching the waves apart, and that's reflected as a lower frequency. Okay? So, where's my cursor? As the truck goes by. Okay, so it's a change in signal frequency caused by the motion of the transmitting station. Okay, also, police radar uses the Doppler effect. Okay, the police radar sends out a signal, it bounces off of your car, and the difference in frequency between what he's sending out and what bounces back to him tells him how fast you're going. Okay, so that's how they do it. What is meant by the statement that a satellite is operating in mode UV? The UV stands for UHF VHF, and it means the satellite uplink is in the 70 centimeter band, which is the UHF band. The downlink is in the 2 meter band, which is the VHF band. Okay, what causes spin fading when referring to satellite signals? Satellites often rotate as they go around in their orbit. And if the satellite is rotating, then the orientation of its antennas to you will change, and the signal will get stronger and weaker, and that's called spin fading. Okay, what do the signals LEO tell you about an amateur satellite? They tell you the satellite is in low Earth orbit. LEO, low Earth orbit. Okay, what's a commonly used method of sending signals to and from a digital satellite? FM packet is the most common mode used with the digital satellite, FM packet.